If you are a beginner in cold approach watching this, good. There are four things you need to learn. Four things in order to take you from beginner to intermediate. So beginner is you can't do a damn thing, you can't approach, you can't say any words, you can't, you freeze up and tense up, etc., right? You can't really do anything to intermediate. The intermediate is a guy who gets some results here or there. It's a little bit wishy-washy because it's not necessarily perfectly consistent, not necessarily not necessarily the perfect girls you would like, but results are there, right? You have to learn four things to bridge that gap. The first thing is how to approach in various situations, various different situations. You need to approach everything, right? One of the things that really helped me was when I got in, I was able to listen to a guy named RSD Ozzy, who is not around anymore, right? He doesn't do that. He doesn't teach cold approach anymore. But he really harped on his students stepping into social situations that scared them, that were a little bit or sometimes way out of their comfort zone. Why, you might ask? It's because cold approach is unpredictable. Just because you see a girl in a tame situation, let's say flicking around on her phone by herself, it doesn't mean she's actually by herself. She could be waiting for her boyfriend, and her boyfriend might roll up on you, and you have no way of telling this. You have no way of knowing this, right? So you do not want to train yourself to have to relegate yourself to approaching girls who are not really will not you don't think that this situation will give you any problems, because honestly you can't predict that, right? You'll see a girl who is sitting around with two of her friends in a park kind of like this. You still got to do it. You'll see a girl hanging around with her family, right? They just ate dinner, they just hanging around, sitting around a little bit talking, right? Or you'll see a girl who doing various things, right? She might be on a phone call. It might not be a serious phone call, just like a phone call fooling around, right? What are you going to do then, right? You have to putting yourself in situations where it feels a little bit more sink or swim builds your muscle in terms of mindset and skill set to be able to handle these things. That way you're not looking for the perfect approach, the safe approach to be able to meet girls, right? You can do anything. If I put you in a bar with one girl and she's surrounded by five guys, you can still do it, right? Versus some girl, it could be a beautiful soccer mom who's sitting there watching her kid play soccer on the sidelines in the bleachers full of other parents, something like that, right? You have to be able to approach in all of those different types of scenarios. Going back to what RSD Ozzy, his influence really pushed me to kind of to approach everything. Like literally, I've approached just about every situation, every single situation that I can think of. I've done. I've done. Even girls walking with their boyfriend, husband, hand in hand. I've still done that. So, not saying that you should, but it's you want to train yourself to be able to handle those things. That way, everything else is kind of easy. You want to train. It's kind of like the fighter analogy. In the gym, getting ready for a fight, you train for the worst possible fight, right? Your hand's gonna break, you're gonna lose movement, your balance, your step. He's gonna rock you early, and you're gonna have to come back from all of this adversity. When you train like that, the actual fight is not gonna be anywhere close to that, and it's gonna be easy. So I'm a big believer in that. I really am. You want to train for the worst possible scenarios because you actually don't know when you're going to see a girl that you like, right? You could see her in a number of those types of scenarios. You could be out and not see a single girl by herself for a while. It's only groups. What are you going to do? Not approach groups? No, you absolutely do still need to approach groups. You still need to be able to have that ability to do what you need to do. So train yourself in terms of that. The second thing of the 4 is training yourself once you've opened to stay and talk. All right, a lot of guys get scared, fear starts bubbling up, anxiety. I don't want to say the wrong thing. I don't want to look funny. I don't want her to feel pressure to stay, right? They just want to run away. They open, chat a little bit, and then they want to run away. You have to train yourself. Also, going back to the point about RSD Ozzy, what he made his students do, he said, when you approach tough scenario situations, and you make yourself stay at least 2 minutes in the set. At least 2 minutes. Force yourself to stay right there. What you do is you build that muscle. You're not going to run away easily when it gets hard. You're not going to run away and, cower in the corner somewhere, right? You're training yourself to look for ways to make the conversation more appealing to her or the group that you're talking to. You're looking for topics to bring up. You're looking for ways to spice it up, as opposed to looking for ways to run out. So keeping yourself in set, the saying, no matter what I feel, I'm staying right here and I ain't moving. I ain't going nowhere, right? I'm just going to talk. Because actually, a little point on this, you're a stranger, and other people who are strangers probably wouldn't expect much from a conversation. So there's a lot of different fears that come up that guys bump into, but train yourself to stay right there. The third thing is learning how to compliment. So the easiest way, not necessarily the best way, but the easiest way, and it is still important to get man to woman, as we say, to show intent, as we say, is to compliment the girl. But I would say that a lot of guys get hung up on physical compliments only. Physical compliments are marginally important, right? I would say I tell guys one or two, right? Literally, that's all you need. You should be looking for complimenting her on behaviors, traits, characteristics that you like. So if she's a musician, if she's a creative person, if she's a mathematician, if she works out a lot and takes care of herself, if she eats twigs and leaves for breakfast, whatever it is, right? Good things. You're complimenting those because that's actually important to compliment. That's actually important to give positive reinforcement to, right? You have to, that's important. That's important. Those matter the most. And instead of just saying that her legs are sexy, you can say that her being smart is sexy, or her being stylish turns you on, right? You can change that. It's not just a thing that it exists in its own sphere, right? Her being a genius mathematician is great. You like it, and you think smart is sexy, right? To be able to connect those two, right? I guess sexual with non-sexual, that's part of it, right? To be able to connect those two, to be able to understand that that's more important, right? To make the non-sexual sexual is more important than just saying she has good legs or nice eyes or all of this other stuff, right? It's more important to do. So I tell guys 1 or 2 physical compliments, And the rest of the time, they should be non-physical. There should be characteristics. There should be things that you like, that you actually like about her. Right? Four compliments. Three to five compliments throughout the interaction, because it's also very easy to overdo, but just getting into the groove, you have to do so. You have to work with it. You have to do a lot to get used to it. And then the fourth point that I would say is physical escalation. So at this point, learning how, or having a ladder for you to work with physical escalation is extremely crucial, right? You have to have a way to practice these things, to practice these moves. You need a way to, or a system where you know what to do when to do it, right? So let's take a ladder like high five or handshake, which is a good thing to start with, but not a handshake in terms of the regular professional handshake, kind of like, business handshake, more like a hand clasp, right? You're doing something like that, a high five or a hand clasp, then side hug, front hug, and then hand holding, right? Let's treat that as the ladder. Most important thing is hand holding, because it's more impactful of a physical escalation move, but at the same time, you have to know when. It's kind of a feel thing, right? You have to know when is the right time to go for this, when is the window closed, right? So you want to physically escalate when things are going well, when not when things are on the downward slope, a downward spiral, right? You want to escalate building on the back of what you like. So we just mentioned compliments, right? Being able to compliment is important. Again, sparingly, right? Best use sparingly. But what you want to do is, damn it.